We're going to go over our science notebook pages for what is a scientist, what is an engineer, and what is technology. I'd like to start by saying I realized after the first video that I misspelled the word definition, so I crossed off one of the F's in every spot because it only has one F, not two. Sorry about that. So your definition might be different than this, and that's completely fine. But most students think a scientist is someone who makes things explode or has chemicals and mixes things in beakers like this little guy does. It's okay if you didn't think that. That's just what I'm going on from what previous students have thought. You should have drawn a picture. Miss Bridges is not a very good artist, so I cheated a little bit. And I found a picture on the internet and cut it out and glued it there. Do not change anything you've done here. Okay? What this point of this video is today is to get the real definition of a scientist. So if you go down to where you have real definition, the real definition is scientists are anyone who asks questions and tests theories. You need to copy that down. Scientists are anyone who asks questions and tests theories. So anyone can be a scientist. They don't all have to be boys like this picture. They don't all wear lab coats like this guy's wearing a lab coat. And they don't all use beakers and test tubes. If you ask a question and test a theory, you're a scientist. So guess what? All of you listening to this right now are scientists because you have asked questions in life before and you have tested them out. Probably one that you can relate to the most is with your parents. I wonder what Mom would do if I didn't clean my room like she told me to. You asked a question. Then you're going to test the theory. You're going to not clean your room after she's told you to and see what happens. Okay? Now, I'm not encouraging you to go do that right now. I'm saying it might have been something you've done in the past. I have a 6-year-old little boy. His name is Benjamin. And when he was 4 or 5, he had a bouncy ball and he was bouncing it in the house. And he was bouncing it on the wood floors. And then he asked himself, I wonder what would happen if I bounced this on the carpet. So he went to the carpet and he bounced the ball. And he's like, look, Mom, if I bounce it on the wood floor, it bounces higher. And if I bounce it on the carpet, it bounces lower. He was a scientist. He is a scientist. He asked a question. He tested a theory. He's like, wonder what's going to happen. Tested it out. Oh, look, this is what happens. So that is what a scientist does. You are all scientists. The scientist doesn't have an age limit. You don't have to be a girl or a boy. Anybody can be a scientist. Young, old, girl, boy, anything. All right, so now we're going to go to page 2, which is what is an engineer. So a lot of answers that I've gotten in the past for engineer is a person who builds stuff, like builds bridges or builds cars or builds houses. And that's why my little picture is of a guy in a hard hat. He's got his building plans right there. That is not a correct definition, but again, you're going to leave whatever definition you have and whatever picture you have alone. That's not the point of today's video. And now we're going to talk about the real definition of an engineer. So an engineer is anyone who works with constraints to develop technology to solve problems. You need to copy that down. If you need to pause the video to copy it, go for it. So engineers are anyone who works with constraints to develop technology to solve a problem. First of all, constraints. You might not have heard that word before. Constraints are limiting factors. For example, engineers usually have a budget or a set amount of money that they have to work within. That is a constraint. They can't have an unlimited supply of money to develop their technology. They have a set amount. Also, another big constraint is time. You can't have unlimited time as an engineer to develop your technology. You have a set amount of time because usually you need this developed. Your boss is asking you to develop it, or your customers are asking you to develop it in a timely manner. So those are not the only constraints, but those are the two biggest constraints that engineers work within, which is time and money. So they're developing technology to solve a problem. So now let's go talk about technology. So most students think technology is something you plug in or you get on the internet with. And that's why this picture has computers, it has a tablet, a jump drive, a mouse, a cell phone, I don't know, I think that's a copy machine. While all of these things are technology, they are not the only pieces of technology. Technology does not have to be something you plug in. So let's look at the real definition of technology. Technology is anything designed by humans to solve a problem. So my favorite piece of technology that I like to talk about is this right here. You know what this is? It's a mechanical pencil. This is a piece of technology. Someone, I don't know who, but someone was writing with their pencil one day and it kept breaking. And they kept having to sharpen it and sharpen it and sharpen it. And they're like, oh, this is so annoying. So they designed a mechanical pencil where when their pencil broke, they didn't have to get up and sharpen it. They just click, magical, sharp pencil. So they had a problem, I don't want to sharpen my pencil, and they developed a piece of technology to solve that problem. A mechanical pencil. Here's another piece of technology. Glue stick. Somebody along the line somewhere wanted to put two things together. They wanted it to stick together and stay together. So they developed glue to make that happen. These two things that I just showed you are pieces of technology. They were designed by humans to solve problems. You don't use them you don't plug them in, you don't get on the internet with them. They don't show you flashy, colorful pictures, but they do make life easier for you. They make problems that you have easier to solve. So there are lots of pieces of technology in the world.